Look at the world today. There are 196 independent nations on Earth. Every color of the visible spectrum is bleeding across their flags. Red for the blood of revolutions. Blue for justice and the open sky. White for peace. Green for the fertile land. Yellow, black, and orange. All proudly displayed. All demanding your respect. But if you look closely, there is a void. A massive glaring hole in the visual identity of the entire human race. Try to find the color purple on any of those flags. Go ahead, look for it. You will find a microscopic parrot on the flag of Dominica, and a tiny, almost invisible rainbow stripe hidden on the coat of arms of Nicaragua. That is it. Out of 196 sovereign states, one single color is completely missing. It has been systematically erased from the symbols of global power, vanished as if it never existed. The official history books, the ones you were forced to memorize in school, will tell you a very simple, very logical story. They claim purple is missing because it was simply too expensive to produce back when most historical flags were designed. That is a lie, a carefully constructed illusion. That explanation stopped being true exactly 170 years ago. Yet, the absence remains. Why? The truth is far darker, and it has been hidden in plain sight your entire life. Purple was never just a rare pigment. It was a psychological weapon, a tool for mass mind control. It carries a genetic code of absolute terrifying manipulation. A history so drenched in blood, so full of silenced voices, that no modern democracy dares to touch it. The matrix of history has manipulated your perception of this color. What you are about to discover is not a conspiracy theory. It is the greatest visual deception ever pulled on humanity. They did not forget the color purple. They feared it. And they made sure you would never question its absence. You think color is just light reflecting off a surface. In the ancient world, color was not light. It was blood. It was a machine that drained life to feed the egos of the elites. To understand why purple was erased, you have to look at how it was born. Travel back to the eastern Mediterranean coast, near what is now Lebanon, to the ancient Phoenician city of Tyre. They created a production center for a pigment so sinister, it required an industrial scale of slaughter. The source was a predatory sea snail called the Murex. The process was a nightmare of brutality. Workers would crack the shells of living, breathing snails to extract a microscopic gland located right next to the digestive tract. Each snail gave up only a few drops of clear mucus. That was it. To produce just 1 single gram of usable dye, the weight of a paperclip, it took the lives of 12,000 snails, 12,000 lives for a single drop of color. This secretion was dumped into massive vats of salt water, soaked for 3 long days, and then boiled in toxic lead cauldrons for 9 more. The stench of rotting sea life was so completely unbearable, so foul and intoxicating, that the dye workshops were legally banished to the edges of the cities. If you smelled it, you knew power was being manufactured nearby. The heat had to be perfectly, obsessively controlled, a fraction of a degree too hot, and the dye turned a useless brown. The margin for error was 0. Because of this insane, blood-soaked production, Tyrian purple cloth was quite literally traded for its exact weight in solid gold. But, wait, it was not just expensive. Being expensive does not erase a color from the human psyche. What makes purple the most cursed color in history is what happened next. It became a controlled substance, the only color in human history protected by the executioner's blade. In the 6th century before Christ, the Persian king Cyrus made a terrifying decree. He declared purple an exclusively royal pigment. Only he could wear it. Anyone else, any ordinary citizen caught displaying this color, faced severe physical punishment. Alexander the Great saw this psychological weapon and adopted it immediately after conquering Persia, crowning himself in purple to signal absolute authority. Then came the Roman Empire. They took the paranoia to its extreme. Senators were allowed 1 single purple stripe, but by the 4th century after Christ, the matrix was fully locked in place. Only the emperor himself was allowed to wear Tyrian purple. What was the penalty for unauthorized use? It was not a fine. It was not a prison sentence. It was death, decapitation, execution for the crime of wearing a color. The Byzantine Empire pushed this madness even further. They built the porphyra, a birthing chamber lined entirely with purple stone. If you were born in that room, you were born to rule. Your bloodline was deemed purple. Your right to dominate others was not a political choice, it was a pigment. When you saw purple, you did not see wealth. You saw a god walking on earth. You saw an entity that could end your life with a whisper. There was no negotiation, no debate, no democracy. Only absolute terrifying submission. Therefore, when the Byzantine Empire finally collapsed in the year 1453, something impossible happened. The precise recipe for Tyrian purple was not just misplaced, it was completely systematically erased from human memory. The center of production was annihilated. The exact temperatures, the exact timing, the entire matrix of its creation vanished overnight. For the next 403 years, true purple essentially ceased to exist on the face of the earth. An entire color, a symbol of ultimate, unquestionable power, was wiped from human capability. It was plunged into absolute darkness. But history is full of glitches, and in the year 1856, an 18-year-old student named William Henry Perkin accidentally cracked the code wide open. He was trying to synthesize a treatment for malaria from coal tar, the thick, black, toxic waste product of gas street lighting. Instead of medicine, his failed experiment left behind a dark sludge. When he cleaned the glass flask with alcohol, an explosion of brilliant color appeared. He had unintentionally created Movine, the world's first synthetic dye. He made it out of literal industrial garbage. Before he turned 30, he was a millionaire. Within months of this discovery, the forbidden color of emperors, the pigment that used to cost its weight in gold, became cheaper than the dirt on your shoes. It cost practically nothing. The masses could suddenly afford the color that had been violently denied to them for 3,000 years. Paris and London went completely mad for it. Queen Victoria wore synthetic purple. The monopoly on power was broken. And this is where the official narrative completely falls apart. This is where the Matrix reveals its true, terrifying nature. Think about the 20th century. Between the years 1900 and 1950, the political map of the entire world was violently torn apart and redrawn. 4 massive empires collapsed. The Ottoman, the Austro-Hungarian, the Russian, and the German empires all shattered into pieces. From the ruins, dozens of brand new nations emerged into the light. Decolonization swept across Africa and Asia. Hundreds of new governments sat down to design brand new flags from scratch. They were not bound by ancient traditions. They had a completely blank canvas. They wanted to declare their new identities to the world. And they had every single color of the spectrum available to them, including purple, which was now cheaper than almost any other dye on the market. They could have chosen the ultimate symbol of royalty to represent their newly empowered citizens. So, how many of these new liberated democracies put purple on their flags? The answer is 0. Not the new republics of Eastern Europe. Not the newly independent states of the Middle East. Not the post-colonial nations of Africa or South Asia. Not one single country chose it. The excuse of production cost shatters right here. It is a fairy tale they sold you to stop you from asking the real question. If it was so cheap, why did everyone globally silently agree to boycott it? What kind of invisible psychological barrier prevents an entire planet from using a color? It was a preemptive exclusion. They did not just forget to use it, they actively avoided it. Imagine the sheer statistical impossibility of 196 nations independently making the exact same design choice without ever signing a treaty, without ever passing a global resolution. It is the most coordinated, unspoken agreement in the history of human civilization. When Estonia broke free from the Soviet Union, they chose blue, black, and white. When South Africa dismantled apartheid, they designed a complex flag to represent unity. Every new nation picked colors that told stories of sacrifice, of land, of peace. Colors that described a contract between a government and its people. But purple does not describe a contract. Purple declares a hierarchy. Purple says, I rule and you obey. No republic wants that energy radiating from its highest symbol. No democracy can afford to fly the flag of absolute dictatorship. Even the most ruthless authoritarian regimes of the modern era knew better than to advertise their true nature so openly. The memory of the Murex snail, the memory of the executioner's blade, is permanently encoded into our collective subconscious. 3,000 years of traumatic conditioning does not wash away just because a teenager in London figured out how to make the dye out of coal tar. And yet, there is one exception, one chilling, bloody exception that proves exactly how terrified the system is of this color. Let us travel to April 27th, 1931. The Spanish Second Republic decided to break the unspoken rule. They adopted a brand new national flag featuring 3 horizontal stripes, red, yellow, and a deep dark purple. The purple stripe was meant to represent the ordinary people. It was a deliberate, massive, and incredibly dangerous symbolic choice. They took the color that for 3,000 years had been reserved strictly for the absolute rulers, for the dictators, for the living gods, and they literally handed it over to the citizens. For the very first time in the entire recorded history of national flags, purple appeared prominently and proudly on the banner of a sovereign nation. It was a revolution in color. How long do you think the system allowed this glitch to exist? It lasted exactly 8 years. In the year 1939, the nationalist forces of the fascist dictator Francisco Franco completely crushed the Republic and won the Spanish Civil War. The very first thing he did, the purple stripe was immediately violently stripped from the flag. All public displays of the Republican tricolor were strictly and brutally banned. Just possessing the flag with the purple stripe was equated with political subversion and treason. The old red and yellow colors of the monarchy were immediately restored and augmented with Franco's own fascist iconography. The anomaly was corrected. The glitch was violently patched. But here is the detail that should truly haunt you. Here is the part that proves this is not just about one dictator. When Spain finally returned to democracy after Franco died, in the year 1975, the purple did not come back. When they wrote the brand new democratic constitution in the year 1978, they kept the old red and yellow. The color of the people, the symbol of their ultimate rebellion, was permanently erased. The color of the old monarchy was permanently restored. Even today in the 21st century, a flag with a purple stripe in a modern, democratic European nation is still treated as a highly radical, dangerous symbol. It is considered politically toxic, not because of what it costs to manufacture, but because of what it claims, because of the psychological barrier it breaks. Now, zoom out and look at the terrifying scale of this reality. I have spent months analyzing historical records, looking at archives that have vanished, institutions that purposely forget their own past, and genealogies that hit massive brick walls at suspiciously convenient dates. But this is a completely different kind of erasure. This is not just a single paper document removed from a dusty archive. This is a symbol so incredibly potent, so deeply and irreversibly embedded in the human psyche, that the entire modern world collectively agreed to leave it behind without ever having a single conversation about it. 196 independent nations, spread across every single continent, spanning every known culture, representing every political ideology, and covering every era of modern history, all of them independently making the exact same choice. Skip purple. Do not touch it. Do not let it fly. They preemptively excluded it because the symbolic weight of Tyrian purple remains simply too heavy for any modern society to bear. Think deeply about what this color actually represents. It does not mean wealth. It does not mean luxury. Those are just the softened, sanitized modern associations that the Matrix wants you to believe. Purple means divine authority. It means that whoever wears it was chosen by God to rule over you. It means that the boundary separating the sovereign master from the obedient subject is as fixed, as permanent, and as unchangeable as the color itself. It means absolute power without consent. It means authority without appeal. It is the color that permanently separated the divine from the human. The cost explanation is a convenient, comfortable history that expired 170 years ago. It only persists because it is simple and because it is satisfying. Snails were expensive, so the color was rare. Problem solved, go back to sleep. But the real answer is about what happens when a symbol is so profoundly powerful, so deeply encoded with 3 millennia of human suffering and submission, that even free unlimited access cannot strip it of its psychological charge. You walk past flags every single day of your life. You see them on government buildings, outside embassies, hanging in schools. You have absorbed their color language without ever being officially taught what they mean. You respond to those colors at a level far beneath your conscious thought, because 3,000 years of intense symbolic encoding simply does not wash out of human DNA in a few short generations. Somewhere in your subconscious vocabulary, purple still means exactly what it always meant. So, when 196 countries all skip the exact same color, you have to start asking questions. When the one single country that tried to use it had the purple forcibly stripped away within a single decade, you have to ask much harder questions. Was it really just about sea snails and the production cost of dye? Or was it about a symbol so deeply embedded in human consciousness that no modern nation on Earth dares to claim it? 170 years of opportunity. 196 silent, coordinated refusals. The flags remember what we have all subconsciously agreed to forget. Every missing color is a confession. What story is the flag of your nation really telling you? And more importantly, what other hidden symbols, what other invisible colors in your everyday life have been carefully designed to make you obedient, to keep you docile, and to make you submit without you even realizing it? You are living inside a beautifully painted prison. It is time to wake up and see the bars. Subscribe to Tin Ken Kwa Ban right now to continue decoding this historical matrix before they erase the truth completely.